You can notice a spring in their step. That is the press and their prized pet Joe. First, there's Joe's first big presser. Talk about a day at the beach, which is where Joe probably thought he was. It's Joe's moment, but I wonder who they'll ask about.
What do you see as the biggest threat to your transition right now, given President Trump's unprecedented attempt to obstruct and delay a smooth transfer of power?
You just spoke of some of the dangers of the president's continued stonewalling of this transition, but it doesn't appear that the president is going to come around anytime soon and admit defeat. So what are you going to do?
I want to get your thoughts on the president's tweet over the weekend.
Ha! What a cakewalk. It's a shame they didn't ask Joe about his favorite color or Hunter's favorite stripper. FYI, the answer's the same, Amber. Oddly, once again, a staffer picked reporters to ask questions, not Joe. It's the political equivalent of cutting his food before meals. And they're all fine with it. Now compare that to this.
Are you really not going to take questions? All of you need to answer this.
Why is the federal government...
What is going on? You're not working with the transition. You're all part of not recognizing democracy. You're all undermining the democratic election.
Throwing the mic down. Undermining democracy. Save it. In 2016, you hacks began undermining democracy with witch hunts, phony dossiers, spying, and slow-rolling coups. No surprise, media peace is now breaking out all over now that they think Darth Vader Hitler's leaving. They can't even wait for a legal process to check voting discrepancies. It's like the night before Christmas. The anticipation is just too much. The lockstep late-night comedy writers claim they're looking forward to diversity of opinion after writing nothing but lame-ass Trump jokes for 4 years. But that's like saying you're looking forward to your pet goldfish after flushing it down the toilet. They also said they needed some joy, because under Trump, their lives were so hard. Yeah, pulling in 6 figures while writing 20 jokes a day about orange hair. You're the heroes. Too bad there wasn't anything else to make fun of, right?
I'm going to get me a beer. I'm going to pull a stool and sit down.
Do you think that you are an attractive person now because you're single and ready to mingle?
What do you want to know?
Surveillance video from Monday shows the Democratic leader inside a hair salon with a face mask around her neck.
As it turns out, it was a setup.
I do think that he knows that he's an illegitimate president.
Stormy Daniels and her lawyer, Michael Avenatti.
One reason why I'm taking you seriously as a contender is because of your presence on cable news.
Oh, Baldy. Yeah, all you had was Trump. Meanwhile, under Trump's reign, he created the most powerful economy in recent history. He drove down unemployment to historical lows. He brought peace to the Middle East. He corralled North Korea and created a moonshot version of vaccines that will change how we fight future pandemics forever. But hey, Trump's tweets made your tummy hurt. Maybe we should buy a doll for Jimmy and Stephen and Noah so they can point to where Trump hurt them. Remember when Trump made fun of Acosta? Guess that cancels out the 5,000 body bags Trump didn't fill from a foreign war. Then there's the mainstream media whining about the audacity of verifying a very weird election.
The current president's baseless attempts to prove voter fraud, and behind those baseless attempts and lies is probably anger and shame at losing.
These efforts by the president to delay the outcome of the election, and in turn, it is actually convincing the president's supporters that this election was not legitimate, when, of course, we know it was.
He feels comfortable hammering away at the completely baseless notion that there was fraud, mass fraud in this election.
Okay. So the same people who happily pushed absurd conspiracies and lies that undermined our faith in this republic for 4 years are now upset over a legal process that's been going on for, what, a few weeks? That's like the Unabomber complaining about your sloppy handwriting. That's like Ted Bundy complaining about your lack of chivalry. If only I could think of a fitting response for these people.
Suck it up, 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 suck it up.
See how that can work both ways, unlike the media, who only cover the news one way. And you wonder why the public is suspicious and angry. We have anchors smirking at their cynicism, anchors whose skepticism went missing during the Russian charade. You have consultants defending election results, even though they sold us snake oil dressed up as polling. They looked down at Trump before he even took office. They accused him of a myriad of insane crimes. They pushed a dossier, then impeachment, with lies about his family in between. They pushed his tax returns down our throats. They called Arizona just to be first, not to be right. They declared victory before millions of votes were counted. You notice a trend here? It's the hurry, the rush to be done with this man and this movement, which is beyond harmful considering how momentous this election really was. It was so obvious a group effort. The media, tech industry, entertainment, academia, the most powerful industries joining hands to undo this bad nightmare called Trump. When in fact it really wasn't a bad nightmare. It was just a dream that they couldn't share with millions of Americans that they looked down on and that they couldn't brainwash. This movement was a reaction to them and to their power. This movement gave them the finger. And now those entities are feverishly trying to break that finger. Trump was evil because they couldn't predict or control him, and it drove them nuts, so they drove him out. The late-night clowns, the CNN chuckle buckets, the never-Trumpers who are also never-winners. They had to be right because their egos were bigger than their principles. So now they're stuck, losing forever, hoping Hunter's clean, that the Chinese play nice, and that they're the smart ones. The only way they could become more invisible is if they go on Seth Meyers. So now the table's clear. It's us versus them, those who wish to create narratives that set us against each other. Because the more we quarrel amongst ourselves, the more we will leave them alone. And we can't let that happen. Our eyes are open. We see how relieved they are now, as if somehow this is all going to go away. Well, how wrong they are.
Period.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. From cheerleader to attorney, it's been quite a journey. Fox News contributor and host of Crimes That Changed America. On Fox Nation, Emily Campagno. He's got more jokes than a henhouse has yolks. Writer, comedian, and host of the Michael Loftus Live Show on Fox Nation, Michael Loftus. Loftus.
Either way.
Skipping. She's as spunky as I am hunky, and that's a lot. Host of Sincerely Kat on Fox Nation, Kat Timpf. I didn't write it.
I did.
And the last guy he seesawed with is still missing. My massive sidekick and host of Nuff Said on Fox Nation, Tyrus. All right, Michael, good to see you in your tattered jacket.
I wore the tattered jacket. Yeah. I had it especially tatted.
Yes, you pulled it out of the Goodwill dumpster. Even the clothing Goodwill didn't want, you're wearing.
That's
so tell
right.
me, what do you make, how is late night comedy going to shift or transition to this new era?
They're just going to search and replace Trump and replace it with McConnell. That's the way it works. It's a conveyor belt of like a bad knock-knock joke. They just keep telling. They started with Reagan. Reagan was worse than Hitler. Then Bush was worse than Hitler. Then Bush again. It's just they just replace the name. It's the same knock-knock joke. I just feel bad for the writers.
Yeah.
You know, you're there in the Kimmel office, just like, how do I do another joke? How do I make this sound new? But the good news is, if you were entertained by Colbert and Kimmel, you won't notice a difference.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're easily entertained.
You know who's worse than Hitler?
Who?
Hitler.
What?
Yes, I'm going there. I'm going there. Emily, the media was brutal to Trump. Do you see that continuing with Biden? Or do you think they're going to take a nap, a nice long nap for a while?
I think they'll take a nap, and I think there's no arguing that he gets softballs every day. And the question is just whether it's going to continue. But the thing about it is that the people who lose the most are us, because the office of the presidency should be scrutinized, it should be criticized, it should be challenged, right? Because it's representative of all of us. And so the fact that they're giving him a softball because all of a sudden he's on the right side of politics means that we're the ones losing out. And for the next 4 years, who knows what's going to be happening behind closed doors.
Interesting point. Closed doors. Kat, you know what? Maybe nothing's going to pan out in this legal process, but why doesn't the news just report it as news rather than acting as though this is some kind of personal, emotional attack on them? Every time I watch the coverage on this legal process, it's like, I can't believe they're doing it. It's like, you never acted that way during the Russian collusion thing. Why are you acting that way now?
It was crazy. CNN was on when the election, they were counting the votes and all that. For an hour was on because a friend was watching it. And they didn't mention the counting or the way the votes were going or the way the states were concerned. Even once, it was Don Lemon and all these people just talking about how they felt about the most recent thing that Trump had said. I was like, this is not news. And it's the same thing with comedy. It's not really comedy. All these late night people saying, well, now finally we can do jokes that are about something else than Trump. And I think two things about that are wrong. One, you could joke about whatever you want. And two, were they jokes at all? I even looked, what recent Trevor Noah jokes? This is one I found, okay? Oh, and looks like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham are also partnering with Trump to undermine the election, which is a terrible idea. But I would love to see these three together in a heist movie. Like what? Call Columbo, because the punchline's missing, right? That's a joke. Maybe not a good one, but it's a joke.
There you go. All right, Tyrus.
Okay, first of all, you guys lost your mind?
I mean, yeah.
Do you not know what you're doing right now? In wrestling, this would be like telling the audience what's going to happen. We're winning. Why do they? Because we're funny and we tell jokes.
I am funny.
Yeah. And now you're going to give advice to the other side who's been whining and crying about, hey, guys, why don't you tell some jokes? Am I taking crazy pills here? Keep doing what you're doing. More Trump jokes. Keep the party going, guys. It's working.
It's like, okay, when you saw that press conference, all they could do with Biden was ask about Trump.
But wait, here's the best part. They're being nice to Biden now because they're assuming once he gets in that he's going to do what the progressive wanted to do. And then they're going to realize that, wait a minute, this is another old white guy, not just he's an even older white guy. So then they're going to turn on Biden too. The 100%. Then all of a sudden you're going to start seeing the CNNs of the world going, you know, he answered that question kind of slow. Anyone else notice that he's just a scotch off?
They're going to give him a year because they got to get Kamala in. That's the whole thing. They got to let him do.
They'll always be nice to Joe. They're never going to be hardcore. You could kill the guy with a sudden question. You could just be like, Mr. Biden, and then he'll just lock up, and then you've killed the president. Nobody wants that on their head.
Yes, nobody wants that. Nobody here, okay?
No, and nobody here wants other shows telling jokes.
Yeah.
Stick to the Trump stuff. We're loving it.
All right.
Negotiations coming up, Kat.
The final live show of 2020 in support of my book, The Plus, is coming soon, I hope. Sunday, December 13th, South Carolina, Columbia Speedway. Tickets still available. Gesundheit. Gutfeld.com.